Good evening and welcome to the channel Sociology Unboxed. Today, under the series Reinventing Indian Sociology, we are once again talking to a sociologist who needs no introduction. A sociologist who has been a dedicated teacher, an institution builder, and a leader and activist. His humility, intellectual rigor, and belief in equality has inspired students across generations. His socialist values, drawn from mentors like Jayaprakash Narayan and Lohia, guide his activism and teaching. His personality is a blend of scholarship, activism, and compassion, making him a guiding force for social change. Friends, please join me in welcoming once again Professor Anand Kumar to the channel Sociology Unboxed. Sir, I welcome you to the channel Sociology Unboxed. To begin with, may I request you to kindly uh, throw some light on your academic journey, like what are the key milestones that you have achieved, what motivated you to come to sociology or become a professor of sociology. So some of these in fact narratives by you would be of interest to the audience.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shwetaji. It's a great honor to be engaging with this initiative, which is making use of the new technology of communication and dissemination to reach out to people across generations. I became interested in sociology as a young activist in the 60s when I completed my high school and pre-university studies. The primary factor was my being engaged in debating society and also coming from a family background of activists, people who were involved in national movement, later socialist movement, my grandfather and my father and my uncles. But in my time, there was a strong pressure of family and peer group to go towards sciences because the impression was that the bright students go to sciences and who are not so bright go to so-called arts subjects. But while studying for Bachelor of Science at Banaras Hindu University, I became more involved in social agitations, protest movements, and there I found that to understand the dynamics of society, you must pay attention to social sciences. And it was also the time when in the Western campuses there was rise of angry generation who were unhappy with the war policies, who were unhappy with the morals of the time, and who were frustrated with the leadership of their respective countries, from United States of America to United Kingdom to Germany to France to Holland and to many more countries. There was also a wave of protest in post-colonial societies, India, Pakistan, Egypt, Afghanistan, Indonesia, all over. So after completing my BSc, I was able to convince my mother in particular that enough is enough, let me study social sciences. Luckily for me, my family had two social scientists. My uncle Rangnath was a sociologist who was trained at Lucknow University, and my another uncle Krishna ji was an economist who was trained at BHU. So their presence as front runners in the family's intellectual journey, I was allowed to go for sociology. I became a student of sociology at the Department of Sociology at Banaras Hindu University, which had reputation of being a meeting point of ideas and ideologies, which was a place where discussions were taking place about various movements and other questions. In those 2 years at BHU, I became totally convinced that sociology is my future interest for academic journey, because what we were confronting in our daily experiences as adolescents and young youth were being discussed by a variety of people: social change in India theorists like Srinivas and Yogen Singh, theorists about traditions like A.C. Dubey and A.K. Saran, and there were other international social scientists like Marcuse, one-dimensional man, under Gunnar Frank, development of underdevelopment. So all over you found interesting exercises which were dealing with major questions of our time. There was also a theory about generation conflict. There was certainly a big gap between my generation and the generation preceding me, that is, people who were born after 1947 and people who had grown up before 47. And we were a bit more impatient than the previous generation. And that made them doubt our purpose, our focus, our initiatives. And we had no faith in their promises, because it was a period of disenchantment, disenchantment with freedom, disenchantment with democracy, and of course disenchantment with political leadership. While doing my MA, I also became more involved in student politics of BHU. That made me president of the student union in very tragic circumstances. And then I lost a sense of balance and we got engaged in a protest movement, which made me subject to disciplinary action and we were expelled from the university. It was a time of Naxalism in Bengal, it was time of Bangladesh Liberation War in Pakistan, it was time of anti-English pressure for linguistic autonomy in North India. They called it Hindi movement, Angreji Hatao Andolan, Bhasha Andolan. So we were in the middle of a number of protest movements, and while I was not a bad student, I had acquired good grades in the first year of MA. Second year was without any chance of studying, but there was a compromise and that made me eligible for examination, and I appeared for examination in second year after having no chance of studying even for a day. But luckily for me, I was the topper of the batch. So university gave me two letters simultaneously. One was expulsion from the university and the other was award of Vice Chancellor's Gold Medal. When BHU door was closed for me for doing further studies, I happened to take note of a new development taking place in Delhi, foundation of Jawaharlal Nehru University. And that advertisement attracted me to apply there, and I got admitted in MPhil program of JNU, where I was taught by eminent scholars like Yogen Singh, T.K. Uman, K.L. Sharma, Venugopal sir, Professor Panini. And that gave me deep interest in going further, because it was an interdisciplinary school. Unlike BHU, in JNU there was pressure to study beyond your sociology framework, so political science, economics, history, literature. And that interdisciplinarity made me more confident to go further. I was able to win a scholarship, national scholarship to study abroad, and that allowed me to go to University of Chicago, which was the first department anywhere in the world where sociology started as a formal disciplinary inquiry. And at Chicago, I was exposed simultaneously to sociological theories as well as South Asian area studies, and professors like Bernard Cohen, Susan and Lloyd Rudolph, Milton Singer, William Wilson, and many more were available as teachers. But while I was studying at Chicago, there was also emergency in India, and that pushed me to become an active anti-emergency campaigner, which then gave enough reason to the government of India to cancel my scholarship. So here I was in Chicago without any resources, but with many ambitions, many dreams to become a better student of society and culture. My class was also mini world because there were students from Iran, Chile, Cuba, Brazil, Germany, of course, India, Pakistan, China, Japan, and a large number of students from various parts of America, men and women, various colors, various races, various nationalities. Given the frame of learning at Chicago, I became more and more involved in studying the theories of social change. And that made me go to Professor Wallerstein, who was teaching at that time in a very small university, upstate New York, called State University of New York's Binghamton. But it was a fortunate opportunity for me because not only Professor Emmanuel Wallerstein, but I also became a student of Terence Hopkins, James Petrus, Ramkrishna Mukherjee, Perry Anderson, Giovanni Arrighi. So all this made me very confident to go for teaching as a profession. I was very clear, given my own experiences and understanding of politics at that time, that politics as vocation is not an ideal thing for a man of my kind who is temperamentally seeking freedom, freedom of ideas, freedom of opinions, freedom of activism. I was very happy when I got the opportunity to start teaching at BHU, and that allowed me to engage with younger generation, a number of seminars, conferences, and very bright MA and MPhil and PhD students. After 10 years at BHU, I got my next opportunity to move further because in BHU somehow, accidentally or by design, I became victim of stagnation, jealousy. I was not welcome to go further. So waiting for nearly 2 years to allow me to go further, then I got the opportunity to go to Jawaharlal Nehru University, which was my old alma mater. Some of the people teaching there were my old teachers, and they remembered my student days, my activism, but they also respected my credentials because BHU gold medal, University of Chicago PhD, um, and then I stayed there for 25 years. In those 25 years, I became more involved in studying politics and society, that is political sociology. I also got opportunities to engage in international research projects about democracy and globalization, culture and globalization, media and Indian social thought. And they became the 5 domains in which I guided research, I did my own research, and I offered courses. In that period, I was privileged to become secretary of the Indian Sociological Society, later on president of the Indian Sociological Society. I was able to attend various conferences in India and abroad. I also got opportunity to teach at half a dozen Indian universities and nearly half a dozen international universities. And that made what I am today. I'm very obliged to my students as well as my teachers and foremost my colleagues to give me joy of learning and to provide me various perspectives and give me opportunity to learn from them about dynamics of social change, power and society, nation building and globalization. Today, I look at my journey as a story of uh, great opportunities, of course challenges. If you have no challenges, then you don't do your best. So what happened at BHU in my MA days, what happened at Chicago in my PhD time, gave me the inner view of dynamics of power, state and society, authority and system. And I feel that we are fortunate people who are studying sociology with relative freedom, and that should be an achievement of Indian intelligentsia and Indian people. Now we can go to the next question.
Thank you, sir. Very interesting journey and packed with sociological insights too. And I leave it to the audience to decide and analyze the sociological insights in your journey from student days to, till today. So moving to next question, sir. How do you see the current state of sociology in India?
The status of knowledge and the level of skills to generate knowledge and the atmosphere for making knowledge acceptable are all three very new situations. We are now having many more people studying sociology because in many parts of the country, even at the level of class 10 plus 2, sociology has been introduced. As professional body, we are growing at a very satisfactory speed. When I was asked by my supervisor to become life member of Indian Sociological Society, there were only around 400 people as life members. That was in 1973-74. Today we have nearly 5,000 people who are life members of the society. When I was participating in one of the first conferences of sociology in 1974-75 at BHU, there were very few people with original research papers, and there was hardly any challenge from the audience. But now we have nearly 25 research committees, and every national conference is an eye-opening opportunity. There are people from India and abroad, people of various generations, and it is a good mela of ideas and opportunities. So the first aspect about our status as a knowledge system is very satisfactory. We have a number of special fields which have become autonomous interdisciplinary exercises like gender studies, Dalit studies, environmental studies, and the classical branches like rural sociology, urban sociology, industrial sociology, criminology, applied sociology, they are already growing. So that way we are a stable and growing discipline. In terms of our skills to generate new knowledge, there is some problem. One of the problems is the limits of methodological training. We have become fascinated by technology power, and we know that number of things are available on internet, number of facilities are available through computers, but methodological sophistication is still desirable, is not the ideal situation. Our work is challenged by media, our work is not appreciated by policymakers, our studies are more on the routine lines, so they are good for getting a PhD degree or publishing a monograph, but they are not eye-opening for the society. We are often lagging behind the larger society, policymakers, in making a difference. It has to do with our methodological inadequacies. Thirdly, the challenges of making sociology relevant is quite pronounced. The gender question, the caste question, the question of multi-religiosity or ethnicity. These are all beyond politicians and beyond technocrats and media persons to manage. We are in need of social scientific analysis of gender and society, caste and social change, religion and state, and we see often difficulties in understanding, coming to grips with these problems. So the crime against women, the problem of caste atrocities, the challenges of multi-religiosity, they are things which have to be engaged with help of social sciences, particularly sociology. But there is a kind of distance between policymakers and knowledge seekers. Often they feel like a failure and then they rush to social sciences, just like the caste question. There was lack of sociological sophistication in making our caste related policies. Now we are guided by pressures from below and pressure from above. Pressure from below is the movements of various caste groups for seeking justice, and pressure from above, pressure from Supreme Court of India to look at the impact of reservation policy and asking us to go for subcategorization because there are gainers and there are losers, or there are at least gainers and no gainers. So why there are no gainers when there is a consensus and total backup for implementing affirmative action? Similarly, we are bothered about rise of religion as a channel of conflict. Why India is not able to learn lessons from our national movement, where we suffered partition because of religious antagonism. And we told ourselves, at least in India and if not in Pakistan, that never again. And still we are sliding towards a phase of society where there is going to be prominence of religious antagonism, hate, crimes, and problem of intolerance. So I feel that we have to go more than halfway to make impact on our times. Otherwise, this growing distance between knowledge and practice, policies and research-based understanding is not very healthy. And that's a big challenge.
So, yeah, over the years, the discipline of sociology has grown, and we are now offering specialized courses also, as you spoke about. It is branching out. Despite we have many challenges, the kind of disconnect that you spoke about between the policy formulators and the research based knowledge that we generate in sociology, and many other challenges like religion based conflicts that we are facing today. So sociology, because sociology is a discipline that can provide solution to many of these problems, and despite this ability of the discipline to provide solutions to many issues that we are facing today, why the discipline is still facing challenges? Though I agree that there are other disciplines also, like engineering also, IITians also, they are also facing challenges. But as a discipline, if we talk about sociology, we are going through a period of transition. So how, what challenges, this, other than these which you already spoke about, do you see sociology facing in future or currently also? What are the challenges that the discipline is facing other than what you already spoke about?
I think that there is a change in perception about sociology in last 75 years. In the beginning, there was a kind of partnership between sociologists and nation builders. There was optimism in sociology. When you look at the studies of social change by sociologists in the 50s and 60s, they were not talking about breakdown, they were not talking about disorder, they were talking about Sanskritization as well as westernization and modernization. And they always talked in positive terms, a better tomorrow, a better future. They also looked at instruments of change like education, welfare measures, political parties, elections as the agencies or factors which are going to be creating a functional relationship between various sections of society. Today, we are experiencing the results of our policies, and there is limited scope for optimism. It is a time of jobless growth. It is a time of protest movements. It is a time of left-wing extremist activities. It is time of disenchantment. It is time of intolerance. So, sociology of yesteryears was a partner in nation building. But sociology of today is becoming engaged in social criticism. For example, gender studies. Now, social scientists engaged in gender studies cannot be blamed for crime against women. You are shooting the messenger if they are reporting that women are in need of more space, more rights. You are not exciting the women to become rebels. You are only narrating a situation which is otherwise reflected in cases like Nirbhaya, where there is a very dangerous episode which makes any woman or any man associated with women feel afraid whether we are becoming better socialized or not. Similarly, Dalit studies. How long people have to wait for the fulfillment of the promise of our constitution to move towards a casteless mindset, if not casteless social order. This is also evident when you look at urban scene. Urbanization of India is going out of hand. Urban crime to urban pollution. You see no blueprint which promises a better tomorrow. There was a talk of smart cities, and that talk was very interesting. There was talk of making urban atmosphere pollution free, but talk was not substantiated by policies. So sociologists today are being labeled as critical of our order. They see very few zones of promises. But do you blame sociologists for that? Or do you allow sociologists to be more truthful, more sincere to facts, and more committed to the ideals of our society as enunciated in our constitution? So I see a growing gap because of the compulsions of facts, where sociologists have to report the delay in implementation, the failure in delivery, the problem of perception. The way we are moving as a welfare state is not very satisfactory. The problem of hunger, problem of corruption, problem of injustices, and problem of deficiencies in democracy. So it is a systemic situation where sociologists are treated with a bit of doubt. I will plead for giving more space for truth and facts. And sociologists should not go by the pressures of policymakers as it happens with bureaucrats. Yes, minister. Or with media. They paint a rosy picture where there is not much to paint about. And we will stand test of time. I'm sure that this transition will be over very soon, because to maintain an illusion is suicidal, is dangerous. Sociologists may not report the truth. They'll go for soft topics for research, but that will not make society free of the failures. So it's better that sociologists are given much more energy, much more resources, much more respect than they are being given today. On the other hand, at the level of sociology, we should be second to none in our theoretical sophistication, in our conceptual evolution, in our learning from other disciplines. After all, Auguste Comte told us that we are the youngest discipline, which is standing on the shoulders of other pre-existing disciplines like mathematics, philosophy, physics, economics, history, and political science. So, the inner crisis of sociology has to do with our specialization and sub-specialization. No, 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 I'm only interested in political sociology. My dear, political sociology is related with urban sociology, rural sociology, gender and society, Dalit studies. How can you say that as it has nothing to do with election, politics, political party, movements and state, it is not within my realm? So, interdisciplinarity and intersectionality, these are two things which will make sociology look more acceptable, more interesting. And on the other hand, an engagement with truth will make Indian society make better use of sociology.
So, if you permit me to say, I would like to say that the biggest challenge that the discipline is facing is the intellectual fast, which we as sociologists are observing, in fact. And yeah, we should be very, very honest in exposing the facts and truths and through our researches. So yeah, there are many challenges that the discipline is facing, and we should remain hopeful, as you said. So moving forward, sir, I would like to know, what do you suggest, how sociology in fact come out of these challenges and how it can reinvent itself?
That's a great question, because it will have changing answers over a period of time. First, we have to make our own house in order, meaning that we must not ignore the imperatives of knowledge, meaning we should allow more and more sophisticated spaces within our discipline called sociology. So, for example, ecology and society. Now, we are not the students of botany and zoology, but we know that sustainable development goals includes life underwater, life over surface or land, and as a student of social change and social development, we must engage with botany, zoology, biodiversity, ecological studies to become more relevant. Similarly, media and society. More and more power is going to media, and media is becoming infected by fake and artificial constructions. But we have to take it as it is, and that makes us more committed to see how people are making their opinions, how their collective behavior is changed, how they develop attitudes and stereotypes, and we have to report it to everybody. Shunning away from media power is not the answer. Similarly, if the state policies are not in harmony with the ground realities, we don't have to fight the state. We have to tell the society that state is not being fair to you and to itself. So if there is challenge of sustainable development goals, and if there are deficiencies, we are not able to develop models and methods to make society less deficient, we have to report it to the society, because ultimately it is collective consciousness which is to be protected and harnessed. On the other hand, Sociology also has to be a little pragmatic about its ways and means. It may not be out of place to tell you about an experience I had in one of the conferences in one of the states of our India. It was an all India conference. I was privileged to deliver the keynote address, and after me, a minister of the state was there to offer his comments, and he said that everything is okay with the presentation of the professor, but we politicians have little use to their work because we are elected for 5 years. Your first 6 months are gone in learning the ways and means, and last 6 months we are lame duck because we are about to face a new election. So we have actually 4 years to accept and implement any program, and you take 5 to 7 years to make a project. A PhD takes 3 to 5 years. So we are not useful for each other. You complain that we don't use your knowledge, and we complain that you don't make your knowledge presentable and practical. So time management. Similarly, resources. Of course, there is need to put more money in research. But compared to the money available to Srinivas and Yogen Singh and TK Oman and Andre Betai, we have much more money. They did not have ICSSR, they did not have ICHR, they did not have ICPR, they did not have funding from Indian Council of Medical Education and other places. But today in law school, technology institutions, medical college, everywhere sociology is an organic part of their knowledge system. So our opportunities have grown, not comparable with America and Europe, no way, but compared to our own ancestors who did pioneering work, we are better placed in terms of our capacity and resources. And we must justify social investment in social sciences. Thirdly, we have to also see what is available in the job market, because if sociology learning is not linked with a better career or a good career, not many people will come to the discipline. But I see at least 5 branches of opportunities. One channel, of course, is teaching. Sociology as a popular subject is growing, and universities are growing, higher education institutions are growing. Second, research institutes. There is not only government funded research institutions, there are private sector based research institutions also, because social knowledge is becoming more and more relevant. Even for selling your products, you must know the mood of the consumer, and knowing the mood of consumer is a power, a capacity of social scientists. So research institutes. Third, media. Media is an unexpected area of engagement of social scientists. Earlier, people knowing good language, good Hindi, good English, good Tamil, good Bangla were invited to join the media. Today they want social scientists, sociologists, historians, political scientists to make sense of the events and episodes. So media. Then there is another very important area, and that is civil services. Even technology and medicine students who want to become civil servants are interested in learning social sciences, and that's very encouraging. And finally, there is this whole space of voluntary organizations and civil society organizations. Given the fact that state is rolling back because of liberalization, there is growth of institutions engaged in corporate social responsibility related activities. So there are a number of new frontiers of voluntary action or social action based upon social research. From child care to aging, there are new domains of inquiry and implementation. So I see a bright future of students of society and culture and change, but we have to be truthful, we have to be pragmatic, and we have to be useful. These 3 things have to be together. If we want the policymakers to learn our song and dance, we must make it intelligent for them to join us. If we are too far away, too abstract or too impractical or too critical, they'll be scared of us. And we have to have sympathy with them that they have limited mandate. And we have to live with them, learn to live with them. Similarly, if we compromise with truth, there is also this academic fake work going on in many places. Dissertations are written in a very unfair manner, and that is not a, it is like a sweet poison. If you don't do genuine research just to keep your CV growing, if you have this problem of plagiarism, or there's another, what you call, subletting, or ghost writers, this is all poison. This will be, once you lose your reputation, you lose it forever. And that's where sociologists have to be very sincere and committed. You may write a small paper, but based upon genuine research, and not a big book based upon borrowed or stolen ideas. So I think, given the total scenario, we are in competition with technology revolution, with knowledge explosion, and policy implementation. And these are all very comfortable changes which will make us look better, provided we are in tune with demands of learning, teaching, and research. Thank you.
So thank you so much, sir. So despite facing many challenges, despite the challenges that we as a discipline, sociology as if, in fact, sociology as a discipline is facing, uh, the future is bright.
Of course.
Only we have to, just that we have to remember that we have to be multidisciplinary, transdisciplinary, intersectional in our analysis, pragmatic, truthful,
Yes.
and useful as well, providing
Yes.
jobs opportunities to the students. So thank you so much, sir, for talking to us and suggesting ways to reinvent Indian sociology. Thank you for
Thank
being
you very
with
much.
us.
I wish
Thank
you good luck,
Thank you,
and
sir.
I'm looking forward to new initiatives by Indian Sociological Society, as well as all these departments of teaching and research of sociology. Thank you. Good
Thank
luck.
you, sir.